This episode is brought to you by Classical Conversations. To find out more, please visit classicalconversations.com.
Marijuana causes more damage to teens' brains. Believe it or not.
So does Xbox.
Hey, guess what? Facebook top exec made some mistakes.
It's Facebook.
Mistakes. And President Trump with Kanye? Again?
I know his phone code. I learned it.
his password, 000. Hey, guys, thank you for joining us. Please share the show right here, right now. Like us on Facebook. Comment. If you guys want to contact us, you can email us, contact@crosspolitic.com.
We're on Periscope right now, too.
We're on Periscope.
That's
so
right.
We're streaming live on Periscope, YouTube, Facebook, on like 4 different pages.
Everywhere.
Twitter.
Anyways,
Everywhere.
You can see Waterboy, Chalk Knox, Pastor Toby, and we got 2 guests in the studio. Representative Matt Shea and writer, news commentator, journalist, living all over the world right now, Alex.
Alex Newman.
Yeah, Alex Newman.
Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Hey, thanks for having us.
As always, a big thank you to our members. CrossPolitic could not exist. We are now a network, streaming shows like Law and Profits, How to Build a Tent, and the Westminster Confessions of Funk,
which you got to check out.
And,
Farley's bringing it this last 2 weeks.
Check those out. But a big thank you to our members. As always, you can join at crosspolitic.com.
Yep.
You make all of our antics possible.
Yeah.
Also, you have access to digital content, which includes our Worldview Shotgun series,
which is hopefully going to be on iTunes after this week.
Yes.
We're having technical
you get
problems
some
on that.
access.
No, you're having technical problems.
Access to musician partners, including Jenny and Tyler. Discounts in our merch store where you can buy things like.
Oh, like baptize me.
Like.
Come on.
Where you can buy things like. Hey, there we go.
Baptize me. That's for your Presbyterian, your Baptist friends.
You can also,
we have one for Presbyterians, too.
Yeah, right. You can also get, for a limited time, there's a few books from Jovial Press that are available.
E-cop, electronic
Okay,
books.
just send an email with your membership and say you'd like to get one of those.
Yeah. And don't forget with the Set Free course. We got to mention the setfreecourse.com real quick.
Oh, yes.
So we did a project with FaithWire, setfreecourse.com, fighting the sin of pornography. If you guys go to that website and you buy it, put in the code CrossPolitic, and you'll get a 20% discount. That actually is for everybody, not just our members.
Website?
Setfreecourse.com.
Go do it.
That's
right now.
hosted with Pastor Douglas Wilson, Jeff Durbin from Apologia Radio, and myself and others. If you or someone you know or love needs encouragement, help in this, maybe just do a Bible study or a small group in your church, go check it out.
It's
setfreecourse.com.
Yeah,
really good.
I got to say something on that real quick, because I've actually worked on a lot of Christian products. A lot of them have been on the issue of pornography, and this is hands down one of the best courses I've ever worked on.
You're just
not a
saying
12-step program.
You're just saying that.
I'm not, and I can tell you why. A lot of times when people deal with the issue of pornography, what they're dealing with is stop doing it. They want to get you to stop doing it. They give you 12 steps. And they give you 12 steps. There's a whole bunch of, and they make you feel good, and you probably will for a little bit, but this is something amazing. This product actually helps you live out what manhood is about.
Amen.
What being a father is about. Right. And so you're not just fighting it, you need to quit. No, it's helping you walk in the way that God made you to be. Yeah. So it's a complete different approach to the idea of dealing with pornography. So I just recommend, if you're dealing with that issue, go out there and get this product. It's one of the best products I've ever worked on.
Setfreecourse.
And it's not just because I'm the DP of it. So anyway. That's another.
Well, and we got to kick some shouts out to our corporate sponsor, Classical Conversations.
We love you.
Oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Sent you, Toby. I think this is yours.
Stop.
No. This is yours, Knox.
Oh,
and that's Toby.
Come on, don't take mine.
They sent us some really nice jackets because they know we live in Moscow, Idaho, and it's cold and it's winter.
Cold.
Classical Conversations. We love you guys.
Hey,
Thanks for supporting the show.
You know what? I didn't know they were your corporate sponsor, but I have my kids in Classical Conversations, and I can tell you it's amazing.
And where are your kids right now?
They're actually in Greece, but when we're in Florida, but we're doing Classical Conversations in the car too. We're on a road trip. We got the CDs in there, the timeline. Yeah. It's awesome stuff.
All right, we're going to get to that more.
Are your kids baptized?
Actually, one of them is, and 3 of them aren't. But I've been wrestling with this issue a lot. So.
We'll have to bring that up in a segment. Yeah.
Your kids, if you have children.
Glad you're here.
Yeah,
glad you're here.
Speaking of children, there was a study that just came out from the American Journal of Psychiatry.
Psychiatry.
I got it.
He's from Texas.
Look at it's what I do. Looked at the effects that marijuana is having on kids 13 to 18-year-olds. 13-year-olds.
Wow.
13-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it found that basically marijuana has more of a negative effect, memory loss, etc., than alcohol does on our children. Surprise. Your bacon, your
how do they do this study, first of all?
That's a good question.
Exactly. Who are they experimenting on?
So they monitored 4,000 kids.
Yeah.
Who
are drinking and smoking pot?
How old are these kids?
13 to 18. Did I stutter when I said? I didn't stutter when I said.
That's what I'm saying. How did they do this study?
So they monitored. So is in a community in I believe it's in Montreal where they just monitored 4,000 kids.
Oh, they're Canadian kids.
Over the course of 4 years.
So they gave kids.
No, just self-reported. It's self-reported.
Self-reported.
Yeah.
Okay.
But come on, self-reported. But the reason why is so they monitored like problem-solving, long-term memory, short-term memory, the ability to stop habitual behavior when needed.
They're kids.
Right. What 13-year-old has the ability to stop habitual behavior?
You give them a vice, and are they going to stop on their own? No.
I just want to know, were these kids tested on their smarts before they started the process?
I assume that's part of the
SAT
process.
Score. What's the baseline?
Well, I assume they had a baseline. You had to have a baseline, and you test them when they walk in the door, and then you monitor them over 4 years.
Okay.
So that's how it goes. But the reason why I think, first of all, the state of Washington.
Yeah, we blame you. We blame you, Matt.
We blame you guys. The state of Washington.
We're getting blamed for a lot right now, so we'll talk about that. Yeah.
Colorado. California
legalized marijuana,
and I think there's one more state that has legalized marijuana.
Oh, I think there's like 9 now. I think
is that right?
Yeah,
yes.
I think so.
Leave it to the journalist.
Yeah, he would know.
Thank you for being
here. So
those
of you who don't know, Moscow, Idaho is right on the border of Washington State. If you drive west out of
7
town,
miles,
you're in Washington State, and less than a mile,
50 feet over the border.
Over the border is
a pot shop.
A pot shop set up.
There is
right there. Oh
Where?
yeah.
What's it called? I forgot what it's called.
I don't know. It's something.
It's like
green. Something
green dank or something or a handshake.
Okay.
Weed here. Wow. Get high now. I don't know.
But here, all these states are legalizing marijuana. They're legalizing a vice, and they don't know but
it's not just a vice. Is the thing. It's. I think there's something. It really is damaging. I'm a little bit dubious about exactly what this study. How it took place and everything else.
Of course.
But I'm actually grateful for anything in the news that's actually telling the truth about what marijuana does. I mean, people want to play like it's just like
alcohol.
It's like alcohol.
Yeah.
It's like beer. It's like wine. Yeah. And I think we're getting played, and people are doing significant damage and harm. Shout out to Peter Hitchens. If you don't follow any of his stuff,
he's in the UK.
He's a journalist in the UK.
Really good stuff.
Has done a bunch of work uncovering how much pot and marijuana has been connected to shootings, school shootings, acts of violence, and I think there's a pretty significant media cover up going on. But I'm curious, Matt. I took a shot at you earlier. I want to give you a chance to actually talk. What's it like? What are you seeing in Washington, and what's your take on the whole pot situation there?
Well, let me paint a picture for you. First of all, on the border, Spokane Valley, Liberty Lake, and Idaho, you have. Because we have a high tax rate and some other things we're going to be talking about, you will see on the other side, on the Idaho side, gas, liquor, and cigarettes. And then directly facing it on the Washington side is the pot shop.
Yep.
Now, they give you kind of an idea of what's happening. Right now in Washington State, it was told to us that we want to legalize it for medicinal reasons. This is all going to be about medicine.
That's how this always starts.
It's like civil marriage. We just want civil marriage.
Just civil.
Yeah.
And really, it hasn't ended up that way. And everybody knows that there are some legitimate medical uses of CBD, which is a non-psychoactive portion of it. Veterans have experimented with THC, doctor monitored, that has reduced suicide rates by 80%. But what we're talking about right now, 13 to 18-year-old kids, that's not the medicinal side. And what we're seeing is the medicinal business in Washington has been completely crushed by a monopoly that's come in solely for recreational, and that's a huge problem, I think, for everybody.
Right, and I think we're going to see long-term effects. I mean, it's going to be disastrous.
Well, isn't how capitalism works, though? Like, a company comes in and they make more money, they can put other businesses out.
Well, see, we don't truly have capitalism in Washington State right now.
I don't think we have capitalism. I actually don't think we have capitalism in America, but I think that's far more capitalistic, though.
Right, and well, they're using the restricted licenses right now in the licensing system, aka the government, to drive the other ones out of business. So right now, it's just a complete mess. Washington is probably not the example for anybody else in the country on a lot of things.
And I believe Colorado, homelessness has increased since marijuana has been legal, and I think crime has also, there's been a connection to crime going.
I want to take a poll real quick. Everybody here, real quick. All hands up on who wants marijuana legal.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
And who wants marijuana illegal?
Come on, Pastor.
Why?
Because he's a socialist.
Obviously.
Government monger.
I think given the world we live in, I think I'm against it. Okay, in theory, I don't think any drug should actually, in principle, be illegal.
Well, that's why I raised my hand.
Yeah. But
that's not what your hand just said.
Right, but right now, I don't want it. I don't want it legalized.
Sure. So when does the standard?
Wait, hold on. That battle
when does the standard change? Has the standard changed, or are you just saying that people aren't capable now?
I think the people aren't capable now. The only thing I'm thankful for it being legalized right now is what we've talked about on this show over the years. Is I'm thankful that there's a little bit of a state-fed showdown going on.
Yeah, states' rights and all that stuff. Yeah,
and every time the states start, liberal states start talking about states' rights, I get a little excited.
Yeah, even if it's over marijuana.
and wonder if we can work this to leverage. I'd love pro-life legislation to be leveraged on
the backs of marijuana,
on the back of legalized marijuana.
No, why wouldn't you just say what we need to do is, hike up our punishments on people who do things that are on certain drugs. So if you should, okay, I don't want to bring this in there, but for instance, somebody who, for instance, alcohol and drinking, it shouldn't be illegal.
Right.
But if you kill somebody because you were drunk, guess what?
Driving, whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Death penalty. And then all of a sudden, wouldn't that affect how people manage themselves? Now, look, if you got a kid that's 13 years old who's under your authority, is going out there getting high, I'm sorry, we're coming after you, parents.
Yeah.
If your kid does something, you're responsible for your child.
Yeah.
So then now this is double punishment, your kid and you.
Right.
Wouldn't that be the way to regulate
through punishment?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I don't agree. Yeah. I hate prisons. I hate.
Me too.
I think prisons is just. I mean, that's just slavery, right?
I know.
It's just slavery.
That was a black thing. Hashtag me too. Prisons.
So I'm not saying that the prosecution process is biblical at all.
Right.
I think it's dehumanizing.
Yeah.
It's absurd. It's oppressive. We are treating people like animals. The punishments don't match the crimes.
You're trying to say this is where we're at, and how we deal with it is
strategically and tactically. This is just one more move, though, by liberal fascists, and
certainly,
and this is the carrot.
Yeah,
you can be high, and we will run your life.
Yeah. And bottom line is all this legislation is being passed in the name of, hey, you can smoke pot. It's being passed as a vice, which I would be totally against in that principle. But you also, come on, man. Executives at Facebook, they got to be smoking pot too.
Oh my goodness!
They are.
And Amazon and Microsoft.
If you guys followed, so during the Kavanaugh hearings. One of the Facebook
what was that?
Kavanaugh, judge.
I had no idea.
Judge, Supreme Judge.
Heard something about it.
No.
Don't do it.
Joe Kaplan, he's a Facebook executive. He's actually a head of global policy at Facebook.
Okay.
And he's a longtime friend of Kavanaugh. And he sat 2 rows behind Kavanaugh during the hearings.
The nerve.
The nerve. And of
Scandal.
course, people saw it. They found out. They put pressure on Facebook. And Facebook released a post. Was it today or yesterday? Or is this week?
Yeah.
Recently. That's the terminology we need to be using on the show.
Notice.
And I didn't name the day. And Facebook said they apologized kind of on behalf of saying that their leadership team recognized that they've made mistakes handling the events of this last week.
Yeah, right.
And so you have this executive, Facebook's apologizing on behalf of their executive just for sitting behind Kavanaugh.
Right.
During the hearing.
It says sexual assault is an issue society has turned a blind eye to for far too long, compounding every victim's pain. Our leadership team recognizes that they've made mistakes handling the events of the last week, and we're grateful for all the feedback from our employees, Facebook told CNBC.
Yeah.
So sitting behind an innocent man gets you in trouble now.
Right.
Oh.
Notice what this is, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
really?
The assumption of guilt.
Right.
No due process, no assumption of innocence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting behind an innocent man you have to come out with an apology for?
Right.
You people are smoking some weed.
Which hopefully nobody's sitting behind Bill Clinton.
Oh my goodness.
Well, Hillary is.
Yeah,
right?
Hillary.
I mean,
they're going on tour right now.
Right?
That's right.
And their tickets are being sold for what's like $230 to $700 a pop.
Yeah. So
all right.
it's cheaper to go to Beyonce and Jay-Z concert than it is to go to Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton revival.
Well, you know why? You know why? Because people will pay more to go hear their priest talk than their worship leader talk.
Ooh. Hey.
Message on that one. Yeah.
Message.
So they'll pay more to hear Bill and Hillary, their priest talk, than go hear Beyonce, the worship leader,
You know what
sing.
I pay for? I pay to have all of Bill's like accusers up there and Hillary and them ask questions to each other about the Me Too movement. I pay to see that.
We should put that
$300.
I'm glad they're taking the show on the road, and I hope they keep doing it. Right? You said recently, and I thought it was a great example. You said this is like the open casket of Emmett Till.
Yeah. Oh yeah. When we were talking about Kavanaugh,
the Kavanaugh hearings,
yeah.
the open casket of Emmett Till. Like, here, look at the body.
This is how bad it is.
This is how bad it is. This is what the Democrats want to do. This is what liberals want to do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, let's take that casket on
let's
tour.
Take it on tour.
Let's take that casket on tour.
Let's do it.
And they're paying for it.
But this is so much connected to like Kanye going to the White House this last week.
Oh,
right.
Yes.
Kanye goes to the Oval Office. We all know his cell phone's password code now.
I heard he hugged Trump.
He did.
He did.
I saw
and
the
I'm pretty sure the Secret Service was like, "Hey, what's a black man doing going to hug a white or President Trump?" And they're holding a gun.
I don't think the Secret Service is racist, Gabe. I think the Secret Service just cared about the president. You know.
I don't know, man. They were gonna frisk him, stop and frisk.
What did
on the way up?
I'm sure he got frisked pretty well.
So what did they do? What was the meeting about? What they do?
I don't even know what the meeting was about.
Is Kanye? Does Kanye have a new album coming out?
I think Kanye has been making enough news, being on SNL, wearing the MAGA hat. Keep on talking. I mean, he's talked about
Trump, and
he's been out there with Candace Owens and doing things at TMZ. He's had enough. He's done an album talking about the issue.
Right.
You know what's interesting is that Kanye, believe it or not, as much as they are hating on Kanye, he's actually representing what they want and fixing the problem in another way. So everybody wants Chicago repaired, and Kanye is after prison reform. Right, and he's actually carrying the same cares that they say they all care about.
Right.
He's actually carrying those. And Trump is like, well, yeah, let's work on
talk
this.
about
Here go my people. What's the problem?
Right.
And so he's actually creating a connection that they say they want, but they're not getting.
Right.
And Trump and Kanye is doing that. So in one way, Kanye is actually caring more about the people than they are. Now, granted, Kanye is crazy. And I don't mean that like as in the way they mean it. They mean Kanye's crazy is for real.
Was it CNN that said he's mentally ill or something?
That's right. They said Trump was exploiting a guy who's clearly unwell.
Okay, wow. I'm going to get y'all in some trouble real quick because I'm about to say something. Kanye is mentally ill, right? That's what they're saying now. But yet, Bruce Jenner's not?
Oh my goodness.
Caitlyn. It's Caitlyn.
Yeah. Bruce Jenner. Bruce Jenner's trans confused and Kanye's the one that lost his mind?
Yeah.
Come on now.
And the media's giving him the ESPY awards.
Look, and everybody knows as long as Kanye was their boy, you know what I mean? They was happy.
That's good, Knox.
They was happy with Kanye.
But the difference, notice the contrast between Facebook and Kanye. Kanye stands there and says, "Come at me."
Ooh.
He doesn't apologize.
He's not apologizing.
That's so good,
he doesn't
Toby.
care.
Yep.
If you apologize, you give ground.
That's right. We all need to be unashamed.
You need to stand your
be
ground.
Be like Kanye.
Yeah. be like Matt Shea with the media.
We're gonna get there.
Next on CrossPolitic. Well, CrossPolitic has a new sponsor. Who, you might be asking? Decree Design. Decree Design is a graphic design and web development company that serves your business by helping you speak clearly through visual representation. Serving 90 plus businesses in logo design, print design, brand strategy, web development, and more. Decree Design has a skill and personal touch to customize a package specifically catered to your needs of your business, great or small, and provide personal assistance every step of the way. Whether you're a well-established real estate broker or entrepreneur getting your business off the ground, Decree Design will help your company's visual presence speak clarity and truth. For more information, please visit decreedesign.co or schedule a consultation with Joe at decreedesign.com. Yeah, Joe at decreedesign.com. Hey, and tell them CrossPolitic sent you. I said, yeah, I thought he was going to give me a countdown or something. But you got to let this track be.
This is a jam. I need to drop some beats over this.
Matt's head's it's not.
Stop, Gabe.
I see you, Alex.
That's good.
Okay. Welcome back to CrossPolitic. We're very grateful to have with us in the studio today Matt Shea. I'm going to introduce him in just a second. We also have with us Alex Newman. Real quick, want to give a shout out to our friends at Trinity Church in Seattle. They're hosting a free marriage conference, Why Marriage Matters.
Come on, Seattle. Get
October 26 and 27. Yep. Doug and Nancy Wilson are speaking there. And would invite you to jump in on that. You can find out more at trinitychurchconferences.com/marriage.html. Check it out.
We had a listener give us some Scotch glasses this last week.
Thank you.
Man.
Yeah. But there was no name on the box.
What?
I don't think there was a name.
It was an anonymous gift.
It was super. They're from Oregon. I do know their address was from Oregon. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the Scotch glasses. Really appreciate it very much. So, Representative Matt Shea, 4th-generation Eastern Washington resident. His family operated one of the first stagecoaches in Washington?
No way.
Serious?
No way.
For real?
Robin Banks?
He can't say. He grew up in Spokane Valley. Later earned a BA in history, political science at Gonzaga. Graduated cum laude from Gonzaga School of Law. Watch out. He completed Gonzaga University's ROTC program. As a distinguished military graduate, he earned a commission in the U.S. Army, served 2 combat tours, including 8 months as a platoon leader in Bosnia, 11 months as a company commander and logistics officer in Iraq. Wow. He was awarded a Bronze Star, a Meritorious Service Medal.
You didn't bring it with you?
And Combat Infantry's Badge, among other awards and commendations.
He brought it for me, apparently. I don't know.
So.
Wow. He was elected to the Washington House of Representatives in November 2008, serving the 4th Legislative District.
Wow. You're going on 10 years.
Which includes...
This bio is going to take up the whole show, I think.
Well, I trimmed it down, actually. Matt helped to spearhead the Freedom Agenda, which is legislation based on defending the Constitution, state and national security, property rights, gun ownership, public safety, sanctity of human life, which is code for protecting unborn children, I believe. Lower taxes, less government, more freedom. He's also a member of the Alliance for Defending Freedom, which
ADF.
We've talked to. We've got some friends at ADF as well.
There. We love ADF.
Matt and his wife Victoria. Is it Victoria?
It is.
Okay. Reside in Spokane Valley. Matt, thanks so much for being on the show again.
I feel like I need an applause track after that.
Just a sinner saved by grace, man. If we can just keep it there.
Amen.
Who can cut you?
So why do this to yourself, Matt?
10 years in politics, man. You should be smoking weed by now.
Why are you in politics?
There's still time, okay? There's still time. All right. So, I really felt led to do this. I was not looking to go into politics, but the Lord just made it very clear that was the direction I was supposed to go. So I went. And if you are called to do something, you got to go where you're led. And that's the honest thing, and not have ambition, just go and blossom where you are. And I really treat politics like it's a ministry, because I really believe it is. In fact, one of the darkest ministry fields, if not the darkest in the world, is probably Olympia, Washington, and Washington, D.C.
Wow. So recently you've been in some hot water. You called the press dirty, godless, hateful people.
Why are you talking about us like that?
That wasn't the full quote either.
Message.
There was more.
Were you specifically talking about Alex?
What? Talk. It was a gun rally?
Yeah, it was a pro-gun rally, and so all the media is lined up in front of me, and you have a very rare opportunity to call them out for what they really are. And they've been, the mainstream media, they lie, they slander, they just throw these things out there. It's a communist tactic, a socialist tactic that they do.
It's shaming.
It is shaming. And I said, all the liars and the slanderers and those who would seek to divide us, they're dirty, godless, hateful people. And then they all went ahead and self-identified. I was like, all right, then. There we go.
If the shoe fits.
I love that self-identification. Can they put that on their birth certificate in the state of Washington?
Is that one of the options?
Coming soon.
So seriously, in the article I read from the Seattle Times editorial board, you've probably seen it, they said that you were, so you've been appointed as the head of a coalition or a task force that's meant to try to, create common ground between the legislature and the media.
And the Freedom of Information Act.
They were trying to, there was a bill that was passed that limited access to certain kinds of legislative records, and that was vetoed.
Yeah, essentially, we had a deal to create more transparency in the legislature right now. We don't believe the legislature is under the current Public Records Act. A judge had ruled that essentially each legislator was an individual state agency. That's ludicrous. We're a separate branch of government. So, long story short, the governor vetoed the agreement that would have actually increased transparency, and they wanted to hold all these hearings. And the media, what they really wanted and what's come out in a lot of these hearings and the sentiment is they want to get all the emails from whistleblowers. Okay, well, you protect your sources for
every
a reason.
Accusation you get.
Right. They want to get, some really sensitive emails. And although some of them have said, okay, we don't want those, the appearance was they wanted sensitive emails. I'm talking rape victims, veterans that have contemplated suicide,
right,
that are contacting us to navigate the bureaucratic system in Washington State, which is a maze. So we're trying to protect those folks, and they're starting to come around. But that's what the media was really kind of coming after us about.
Now, usually when we talk about legislation, people talk about the positive aspects of what the legislation's protecting, like veterans or rape victims, stuff like that. Right. But there's sometimes a Trojan horse behind it too.
Right.
Is there anything like that?
Well, they tried to claim that this would have prevented lobbyist communications from coming out, but we didn't believe that. We believe that lobbyist communications would have been open, as rightfully so. Any lobbyist that's contacting legislature, that should be a public record. I think we all agree on that.
Okay.
But when you start getting into the whistleblowers, which I personally have had a lot, including Special Agent Larry Wooten, the folks that gave me some of the emails in regards to that, what really happened behind the scenes down in Nevada, and
with the BLM stuff.
Yeah, with the BLM stuff. So there are, and this is not just national, but also folks that are calling out state agencies. That really should be protected, because people should feel safe in calling us and contacting us and saying, here's where you need to look for the truth.
Very good. Yeah. So obviously this reminds me, maybe not so obviously, it reminds me of the Kavanaugh hearings in terms of access to information, and
Fourth Amendment stuff.
And the ability to have some measure of privacy and not be completely, one of the concerns by the end of it all, we were all cheering for Kavanaugh. But at the beginning, I wasn't like enthusiastically excited about Kavanaugh. I was better than many. Thankful, could be a lot worse.
Yeah.
But the media made me excited about Kavanaugh.
Right.
Just like they made us excited about Kanye.
I'm not there yet.
I'm on Kanye's team all of a sudden.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
But one of the concerns I've had actually with Kavanaugh's record is actually his record on the Fourth Amendment. There's been a few rulings that he's upheld or turned down where he has given greater authority and leeway to the government with things like the Patriot Act and search and seizure warrants and so forth that frankly make me nervous. And so I'm very much in favor of attempts at protecting the Fourth Amendment. And I hope we were talking about this recently. I hope maybe after Kavanaugh's experience, maybe he's a little chastened on that.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, do I really want to give access to the media to if the government has access to it, we know the media has access to it. That's what we just saw in this whole thing. Was how did all those protesters get into the Senate?
Right.
There were Democrats letting them in, giving them passes.
Especially when Democrats right now are trying to weaponize everything.
Everything.
Yeah. So, they're telling people to riot. They're telling people to go,
They're paying people to
riot.
Is
this connected at all to what you're up against?
I think it absolutely is. Well, first of all, we've been trying to pass legislation in Washington to protect the Fourth Amendment. We were actually successful in banning the use of stingray devices, which are the things that pull cell signals out of the air unless you have a warrant by a court in Washington State, not a secret FISA court or something like that.
Right.
And I think that you can't go through what Kavanaugh went through and have the same idea about privacy again. And I know the Lord turns the hearts of leaders. I got to believe he did.
Amen. Amen.
So.
We noticed that right afterwards, for example, Trump was down in Florida championing what's it called? Stop and frisk.
Terry law.
Terry search.
For Chicago. And, Chicago's a mess.
I get it, yeah.
But I think it's a little bit.
Kavanaugh just got stopped and frisked.
Kavanaugh just got stopped and frisked.
Trump's cheering for stop and frisk.
Well, we just got done campaigning or supporting the guy for due process. Give him due process.
That's right.
You got to have it. And what I've experienced up with the media in Spokane, they will lie even about my endorsements. They said I didn't get an endorsement. I put the letter online, and the correction is in A23 in the back page, eight-point font, right? Yep. And also, this thing today that's really divisive. They try to. I really appreciate Vox Day's approach to this, where he says social justice warriors. There's 3 rules. Number 1, they always lie. Number 2, they double down on their lie. Number 3, they always project. In other words, they put onto you how they actually are themselves.
Right.
And we're starting to see that where they accuse Trump of Russia collusion. Maybe we should look at them a little closer, like Uranium One. They start saying, you must be a racist because we disagree with you. We probably should start looking at the history of the Democrat Party and the KKK and Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that what I really get upset about is there is no chance to really have a dialogue on issues.
That's right.
It's really about defending against this division constantly.
Right.
That's what we're seeing.
So, Matt, to be completely honest, we are very suspicious of politicians.
Yeah, that's why we're over here.
Right?
Should be.
I see a politician, and I get on guard. I'm like, okay, where's the spin?
And then he's saying things I like.
Right. So
that makes me even more
I'm getting more nervous.
Yeah.
So, talk to us and talk to our viewers, our listeners. Why should, maybe especially people in Washington, but anybody, why should we trust you?
So don't listen to what I say. Go and look at how I voted. Mm-hmm. That's the number one indicator of how somebody really is, because you can say one thing in the media and then you have the votes or the doors closed and you say something completely different.
So talk to us about a couple of maybe significant places where you would point and say, if I was a compromiser, I would have flopped here, but I didn't, or whatever. Talk to us about it. Give us a couple examples.
First of all, I am completely unashamed about talking about our American Christian heritage, and I've introduced legislation on that. I have voted that way. I've talked about it publicly, and I'll share with you one quote. We need to reclaim unashamedly our identity as a Judeo-Christian nation and the foundations. Most people have never heard this. It is the Articles of Confederation of the United Colonies, 1643. There was actually an Articles of Confederation before the one most people know about. Here's the first line of it. The first line.
Okay.
Whereas we all, not some, we all came into these parts of America with one and the same aim, namely to advance the kingdom of our Lord Jesus Christ and to enjoy the liberties of the gospel in purity with peace. It does not get any clearer than that. And why are people afraid to talk about Christianity? So that's number one. I would also point to just the myriad of bills we've introduced as part of our freedom agenda. You can check out what we've introduced and what we've actually gotten passed as part of our freedom agenda. Banning stingray devices unless there's a warrant. Reasserting the 10th Amendment, which some people say is old and archaic. Yeah. Talking about defending the right to bear arms, which is under the severe assault in Washington State.
Right.
Defending our law enforcement officers that are legitimate in Washington State instead of trying to neuter our police. Talking about just reform on electronic home monitoring, which is used throughout all of Washington State. And you've had people on electronic home monitoring, which have gone out and committed crimes while they are being monitored, or supposedly. And they really weren't being monitored, we come to find out. Protecting private property rights, completely under assault, Washington State, and I know
I got a question.
Other places too. So
private property rights. One of, I think, the most egregious and immoral taxes that are on us are property taxes.
This is a leading question.
No, it's not even leading. It's not even leading. It's like, is that part of your agenda of getting rid of property taxes?
It is. That's one of the big reasons behind our Liberty State movement, which is to split Washington in two. Is to go back to something called the Lloydial Title. The 1878, there were two constitutions of Washington. 1878 Constitution had a Lloydial Title in it. A Lloydial Title essentially said you could pass it to anybody you wanted to, but you had to sign it away. You can never have your property lien. It essentially made property taxes illegal. In 1889, the next Washington State Constitution changed that and took a Lloydial Title out. So we're trying to get back to it with that movement. The second key issue that I think is out there is life. You get the life issue wrong, get every other issue wrong.
Amen.
We need to abolish abortion in Washington State. We need to be unashamed about that. It is a national holocaust, and we need to call it what it is and stand firmly on it.
So why is that the second one?
Well, I would say to what I'm saying. For me, it's number one. On my agenda, as I read, it is the number one issue, and then private property is number two, because they take away your private property rights, you don't have the prosperity to fight back.
Yeah. I can almost connect those two, actually, when you think about it.
That's why
private property, a human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then what are you doing there in Washington to help make abortion illegal?
Well, so in Washington State, we are 2 votes away from a majority on our side, one in the House and one vote away in the Senate. We tied to defund abortion in Washington State in the budget. Tied.
Oh, wow.
Most people don't know Washington's
I think you guys are pretty liberal. I didn't think
it was that close at all.
Yeah,
absolutely is.
Wow.
So, and a lot of it is, it took years to get to that point of educating and talking about this being the issue of our time.
So is there, will that be on the agenda again in a coming session?
Absolutely. Yep.
So right now, that's what you're doing as a politician. What are some ways that people who are in Washington who already have you there, what can they do on a local level to help further that that conquest.
Besides funding your campaign and all
that. Yeah, we got that. We got that.
No, it's really more about education. People don't know what's happening. A lot of cases, and when they find out, they're like, "That's happening. Right. We got to do something about it." When Americans know the truth, Christians know the truth, they generally will do the right thing. We just got to get them the right information. That's why I love your show. And we need to get shows like this out. I love your show. I love
We're going to clip that, put that on Facebook.
You heard it from Matt Shea commercial. What are some of the key battles coming up?
Yeah.
What are some of the key battlegrounds where you say, okay, this is coming up?
Well, the third issue that I have on there is the right to bear arms, because you have to have the ability to defend your life and your liberty and your property. Mm-hmm. You have to. Mm-hmm. It's under attack right now. Initiative 1639, essentially completely eviscerating the right to bear arms in Washington state. I mean, they want to go so far as to make you register all of your firearms, register your magazines. They want to do, ammunition. I mean, it is not just Orwellian, it is communist. I mean, this is what you see in a communist country.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the biggest battle that we're going to be facing, not only in the ballot here in November, but also into the next legislative session.
So is that on the ballot for November?
It is, yes.
Ooh.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you hopeful that won't?
Most people that I know that I've talked to, even in the middle, are very concerned about that approach to the right to bear arms. There's no such thing as common sense gun legislation, by the way. It doesn't make sense.
Before we go, I want to ask you something. With the whole Kavanaugh situation, you're in politics. You see that. You see that the playing field has changed. Mm-hmm. What are you walking away with after that whole Kavanaugh fallout?
We need to become the media. We need to become the media. We are the media through radio stations and programs like this, through podcasts or videos online. And we need to look at, hey, they probably are going to censor us on Facebook. It just came out on Google that they admit, through a report, they admitted it. We need to create our own alternative media sites. And we have Local Activist is one really good one. It's almost like Facebook. Alex and I are on that, and it's nationwide, and it has geo connections that you can do. So you can look up in your area who else is on it.
Local
Activist, yeah.
Right.
.com?
Yeah, and it is an alternative to Facebook. There are others out there, but Real.video is another one. It's an alternative to YouTube. We've switched everything we have over from YouTube to Real.video, anticipating that if they're going to censor those folks, they're going to start censoring us.
Absolutely.
So then that means we actually need to be on those platforms ourselves, just making sure that they're getting some attention there.
Wow,
so,
that's really helpful, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to Alex Newman. Did I get it right? I'm horrible with names, but
that was perfect.
And see why he's like in between America and Europe right now.
And we're going to get him to baptize his kids.
I've been leaning that way.
Next on CrossPolitic.
How important is it to you to be involved in your child's education? How important is it to you to instill your values in your child? How important is it to you to be a part of something that's a little bit bigger than you? How important is it to you to have your child be a part of something that's just a little bit bigger than them? Everything that I wanted for my children's education, every question I asked, Classical Conversations was the answer.
Yeah! All right.
Bro, what have I told you when we
I'm
have
on fire,
guests?
man. I've been drinking this CrossPolitic coffee.
We have guests. Can you at least be polite for the guests?
You guys got to get your sovereign roast. CrossPolitic coffee.
Ooh,
yeah,
it's good. Correct the website.
Localactivist.org is not .com, .org.
Localactivist.org.
It looks just like Facebook. It's great.
Check it out. Welcome back to CrossPolitic. Really grateful to have Representative
Sign us up.
Matt Shea with us from the state of Washington. Also with us in the studio today is Alex Newman. He's an award-winning international journalist, educator, author, and consultant. We've been consulting with him.
And award-winning Classical Conversations family.
Everybody's got awards on here but us.
I know.
We need to fix that.
In addition to serving as president of a small media and information consulting firm called Liberty Sentinel Media Incorporated, he's written for a wide array of publications in the U.S. and abroad.
Like on CrossPolitic?
He currently serves
we got to get him writing on our blog.
As a contributor to the WorldNet Daily, Freedom Project, the New American Magazine, Crisis Magazine, Law Enforcement Intelligence Brief, and more. He's written for numerous newspapers and magazines. I'm not going to list them all. His work has been featured at Drudge, Breitbart, Fox News, many other outlets. In addition, he's co-authored and authored several books. One of his major works was an expose of government schools. Just going to say I like the fact that he called it government schools.
Wow.
That's what they are.
With Dr. Samuel Blumenfeld called Crimes of the Educators, published by WND. Crimes of the I need to get this.
Man, I know.
You didn't bring us any books?
Unfortunately, I'm came here from a long way away, and I don't got space in my suitcase. So
that digital copy works.
I'll get you guys a copy.
For the last 7 years, Alex has been teaching advanced economics to some of America's brightest high school seniors.
That's awesome.
Through Freedom Project Academy, which is an accredited K-12 school offering a classical education based on Judeo-Christian values.
Oh, my goodness.
He also has an education blog called The Newman Report. Alex is happily married and has 4 children, and they split their time between Europe and the U.S.
We got to fix that, man.
Yeah,
you just got to move to Moscow.
Hey, Idaho is a real nice place. I've got it on my list of places to consider.
You don't have to have a license to pack heat.
That is awesome. And there's a lot of other good things too. Good people here.
Yeah, there's no regulations on homeschooling.
That is awesome.
You can actually be free. So talk to us about the world. So you're speaking of media.
Speaking of godless, dirty, hateful journalists.
Did you self-identify? Yeah.
Well, last time I was in Matt's hometown, I was there to go give a speech, and the local newspaper, the Spokesman Review, is it called?
Yeah. Socialist Review.
Right. They lied about me on the front page. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I got to the town, and there's my name on the front page with a big fat lie about me. So I called up the editor. I said, hey, you guys got to fix this. And after a while, they agreed. But the correction ran in tiny little letters. Nobody noticed it. So.
Well, that's what happens when you own the platform, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just grotesque. And actually, they're lying about Matt and I in Montana as we speak. We got an event we're going to. It's so typical of how they are. I'll give you an example. There's a woman speaking at this conference we're going to. She's a Cherokee Indian, married to a direct descendant of Sacagawea, and the media is saying she's an anti-Indian activist. So, it's kind of like the SPLC. They called the
We've been
Muslim
on the SPLC before.
Oh, have you? So it's a badge of honor.
We know what you're talking about.
They paid $4 million for calling a Muslim an anti-Muslim extremist. I mean, that's how nutty and how dishonest these people have become.
Maybe weed should be illegal.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you see your calling then? You're in the media. You're in journalism. What are you doing?
Well, I go to Ephesians 5:11, have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but reprove them and expose them. And so I spend basically all day, every day, reproving and exposing evil everywhere I see it, in the government, in the...
Oregon for you.
But, I mean, we all got a role to play, and, these people need to be exposed, they need to be reproved, and it's all over. I'll never run out of targets in this target-rich environment.
Yeah, so what is one of the articles that you've seen gone the furthest, like that's gotten the most hoopla?
Well, just
Hoopla
recently...
or low. Is it hoopla? Hoopla?
Hoopla and hoopla. No, but earlier this year, I wrote a special issue. I will give you guys a copy of that. The entire issue of the New American Magazine, with like 1 or 2 exceptions, was my articles on the deep state, what we call the deep state. That, when you boil it all down, we're really talking Ephesians 6:12, powers, principalities, etc.
Sounds very conspiratorial to me.
Well, it is. And we have David Rockefeller in his own autobiography admitting, in his own words, that he's a conspirator working with a secret cabal of internationalists against the best interests of his own country to build a one world order. So there's no theories here. I mean, these people are out in the open bragging about it. So that's what I tried to do in this special issue. And I'll be sure to give you guys a copy. And I've been traveling all over the place talking this up. And a few years ago, if I had said this to, I was just speaking to the Republican women of Billings day before yesterday. I'm losing track of time.
Yeah.
And if I had said this 3 years ago, they would have said, whoa, you're nuts. How can you say that, Vice President Dick Cheney's involved in this or George Bush? And now they get it because of what's happened with Trump and with, he's out there talking about the criminal deep state and people are waking up. This is a good time to be in the media exposing these kinds of things because people instinctively, they know, the polls show 75% of Americans are concerned about the deep state. They just don't quite understand what it is.
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah, so define it for us.
Well, I break it up into 5 bite-sized pieces because it's a huge topic. And so we have the bureaucracy, and everybody knows that they're conspiring against Trump. They've been caught over and over again, spying on him, sabotaging his policies.
Did you see Rand Paul this last week? He asked FBI director, I believe it was the FBI director, because he was in session, they were interviewing him, and he asked him, "Are you recording Trump's phone calls now?"
And they wouldn't answer.
The question.
Why do you do this? Don't do this.
What?
It's behind you.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
But I mean, it's incredible.
Hey, that was a good point, man.
And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, they were doing it during the campaign, right? They had a mole in his campaign. They're spying on the guy's phone calls. Then you have the intelligence agencies. And, I start off by saying there's really good patriots and Christians in the intelligence community. I know a lot of them in the CIA, the NSA, in the military. But at the top, something is very, very rotten. And I could give you a million examples. Obama's CIA director, John Brennan, who bragged that he voted for the communist, the guy who called Trump a traitor on national television. So that's part of it. But then what I really focus on, because this is what people don't understand, is what I call the deep state behind the deep state. And you have organizations like
deep.
It is right. It's super deep.
Inception.
But you have the Council on Foreign Relations, an organization in New York. Hillary Clinton told us when she was Secretary of State, she bragged in a speech to them. They tell her what she should be doing and how she should think about the future. And then you have Dick Cheney, same organization, saying, I've been a director for many years, but I never tell the folks back in Wyoming when I'm running for re-election. So they're all kind of part of the same club. You have the Bilderberg meetings. I've been to a couple of them, never obviously as an invited guest, but you have 120, 150 of the most powerful people in the world and a few of their useful idiots getting together. And then they come out later and they say, we're making policy. We're moving toward a global government, but it's for your own good. You have, then I get into the really deep part, speaking of deepness, the secret societies. And that's an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people, but I'm
getting uncomfortable right now.
I can understand, right? But, God tells us these people like to do things in darkness. And if you look at what's going on in the darkness, we need to be shining a light on there. And it's really rotten stuff.
So question real quick on this. So we're going deeper and deeper and deeper. Now we're talking about secret societies. How do we think as Christians about this? Because there's also kind of the conspiracy theorists, weirdos.
Yeah, my dad's one of those.
My dad is. Yeah, where things get really kooky and I don't know. I guess, as we start talking about deep state stuff, then my antennas start flying up and being like,
what's the difference between speculation and demonstrating actual conspiracy?
Yeah, well, one of the things I do in my presentation is I show the videos of this, right? Alex Jones, who, despite all the demonization in the media, is a pretty good guy. I go on his show regularly, and he's got a bigger audience than the Communist News Network. So, but he's not getting into something called the Bohemian Grove. You have 2,500 of the most powerful men in the world meeting up in the redwood forest of Northern California. You can watch the video. They've got a 40-foot stone owl, and they're doing weird rituals. They're wearing hoods, and they're chanting about forest spirits and burning what they claim is a human effigy. And you can see it on video, right? Alex Jones confronted some of these people in Washington, D.C. Hey, so I saw you at the Bohemian Grove meeting. What's going on there? And they get real uncomfortable as soon as they figure out he was not an invited guest.
Well, Alex Jones like the white Kanye.
He's like a blind squirrel that finds a nut.
This is on camera, right? This is not his theories. This is him recording what's going on. And you have Skull and Bones, for example. Wow. George W. Bush and John Kerry in the 2004 election were members of the secret society at Yale. So you have all kinds of this stuff, and we're not supposed to talk about it. In fact, we've been trained, like Pavlov's dogs, to hear the word conspiracy and react and say, oh my goodness. But open up your Bible. Right? God tells us in Psalm 2:2 that the kings of the earth are conspiring against the Lord and his anointed. Mm-hmm. And he laughs at them. He ridicules them. So it's nothing to be concerned about. We don't need to make tinfoil hats and be worried. Mm-hmm. In fact, we need to be bold about exposing their evil, exposing what they're doing, and preaching the gospel, shining the light in this world.
So one of the farthest I go down the conspiracy lane, because I've lived there for most of my life with my dad, and it's just, all it's done is created a form of fear from engaging. And right now, I love
Christians
my dad.
Christians should have no fear.
I agree. But I love my dad, but he's in Montana right now waiting to take out the whoever comes and invades us once the grid goes off. Okay, that's where my dad is. And honestly, there's a part of me in the back of my head that if anything ever goes down, I know I'm going to Montana. I'm just going to say right now that that's there. But for the most part, I haven't heard you say anything about Soros. And I see his hand openly. I see him funding both sides. I see him get inside of the game to try and make anarchy happen.
From the Southern Baptist Convention all the way to the...
and I see him moving, and that's how he plays his hand. Now, as far as conspiracy, that's what I can see. Expose that for me a little more. Where do you see as far as him fitting inside of this game, and what is he really trying to do?
Sure. Well, that doesn't even fit the definition of conspiracy anymore, because by definition of conspiracy, it requires secrecy, it requires more than one person, and it requires nefarious or illegal or immoral intent. So Soros on his own is not a conspiracy or even what he's doing, but he's part of an apparatus. A lot of people don't realize Soros is not the top of the food chain within this pyramidal structure. You have, for example, he got his start with money from the Rothschild dynasty in Europe. And nobody talks about the Rothschild dynasty. Nobody even knows about them. Exactly. Right. So this is an incredibly powerful banking dynasty. One of their apologists, a very famous globalist historian, Niall Ferguson, wrote in his book about the Rothschild dynasty that they decided the outcome of the Napoleonic Wars. You have a situation where the two most powerful governments on the face of the earth at that time are warring with each other, and this family decides who's going to win. And they're still around, and they're still up to their old tricks, and they run big banks, and they have a lot of control over the economy, and they gave Soros money.
And you're saying that they decide outcomes of the Napoleonic Wars by funding
the British side,
soldiers and ammunitions and supplies.
By funding the British government, loaning money to the British government and not loaning money to Napoleon and his part. That's what Niall Ferguson says in his book, and he's an apologist for these people. So he's not out there trying to slander them or make up things. He's trying to defend them.
You know what's interesting? I just figured out why you're in between America and Europe right now.
It makes it easier for me. It makes it hard for people to find me.
Just figured out why you're not settled anyway.
And it's good fun too. You're learning a lot.
If you're not underground in Montana, then you want to be moving.
Right.
So something that's really simple for kind of give people something to bite on, because I think you just went through a whole bunch of things that everybody's kind of, okay, I don't know hardly anything about that.
Yep.
But just kind of like the simplest, let's go with government schools.
Mm-hmm.
So that has to be connected to your theory in one way or another.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay, so that's something people can connect with. Kind of unpack that for us.
Sure. And this has actually been kind of my mission in life for years now. Since I worked on this book with Dr. Sam Blumenfeld, who spent 50 years looking at education. He wrote 13 books about it. And that is the secret weapon. The deep state is kind of what we call it now because Trump uses that term. But that is the secret weapon of the enemy, right? They're literally brainwashing. They're indoctrinating. They are miseducating or even uneducating something like 87% of America's youth. And, I know even a lot of pastors are very nervous about treading here. But I say if you're a Christian and your kids are going to the pagan, godless indoctrination centers called government schools, you've got a problem. You got to get them out.
You better give him the organ.
Yeah.
Why are you not giving him the organ?
I know. Where is that?
Oh, you're preaching now.
I love it.
So how are they doing that though? As far how the way that you're saying it, how are they indoctrinating? What are they doing?
Oh man, how long do we have? But, they start in the very early grades, right? They use a method to teach reading that was exposed as absolute quackery in the 1840s. It causes illiteracy, it causes dyslexia, and that's why, according to the federal government's own numbers, we have about 50% of the population that's either illiterate or so close to it that we might as well call them that. DC's worse. More than two-thirds of the population, of the adult population, according to the government's own data, is functionally illiterate. That's not an accident. How are you going to read God's word if you can't read? How are you going to educate yourself?
And this is like the look-see method of learning to read rather than using phonics.
Right. Homeschoolers know that you use phonics, of course, and most Christian schools do, but under Common Core, they mandate in kindergarten that these poor kids be exposed to these sight words. And, I'm not the first one to sound the alarm about this. Rudolph, the Boston schoolmasters did it in 1840. Rudolph Flesch did it in the 50s. Sam Blumenfeld did it in the 70s. And still, they're using this, even though they know it's an absolute, and that's just the start of it. It goes much deeper.
So I want to go back to Matt. Yeah. What are you doing about government schools in Washington?
Please.
Okay, so this is great. All right, but you've got to mention the quote from Newt Gingrich too before I forget.
Okay,
but this is a key issue, and all you have to do is just provide education choice, homeschooling, private schools. If you have competition in the education realm, just like we were talking about with economics. It is going to overtake free market is going to overtake the failure, and they are failed public schools today by all standards.
Is there any possibility to do this? So one of the ways this is being done in some states is through voucher programs.
Okay, so
is there any way of doing it without voucher programs?
So here's the problem: most states have something called Blaine amendments. These are put in the 1800s, early 1900s.
Yes.
And these prevent the use of any tax dollar that comes into the structure from being used for religious instruction. Right. So charter schools today can't teach, usually in most states, religious instruction.
Right.
So the way to get around it is something called a tax credit scholarship, okay? So what you're doing is you're intercepting those tax dollars before they go into the tax system and diverting them to a tax credit scholarship. It's not technically a voucher, but it's the same idea, and you can fund those alternative education systems.
One of the issues that I have with the voucher system is that frequently it's a hook. It's a government hook. So if whoever gives you
Deep state.
There you go.
Whoever takes the king's coin becomes the king's man.
Yeah.
And so it starts off with, freedom of choice for education. You take the money, but then how long is it until the government says, and we want to put our fingers in what you're doing?
It's not how long. Every time you take the money, there is a string attached.
Okay, exactly.
And this goes from everything from, the so-called refugee crisis. George Soros is funding the Idaho Office of Refugees here in Idaho.
Okay.
And he's also funding the New America Foundation, which has a study that says that right-wing constitutionalists, and essentially implies Christians are the threat to America, not ISIS, right?
Right.
And he's funding that. So you see him on both sides funding these things. And I've got a network from George Soros up here. The listeners can't see it, but I'll make sure to get this to you guys. And you can go through all of it. Every time you look at these, you have to also look at not just the government, but nonprofits who are working in coordination with the government, non-governmental organizations that are doing this as well.
Yeah. Wow.
I feel like I just walked into the Twilight Zone.
Well, let me give you one more quote. Matt mentioned it. I'd like to mention it. And I encourage everybody, go on YouTube and watch this. All the things that I said, that I quoted, you can go on YouTube and watch these videos. But Newt Gingrich was asked on Fox News, and you can find it on YouTube, why does the establishment hate Trump so much? And his answer was blunt, clear. He didn't stutter, because he's not part of their secret societies, and he didn't participate in their little rituals on national television. And we actually have hacked emails from Colin Powell at this Bohemian Grove event that I mentioned. He was sending a note to his friend up in Canada, Peter MacKay, defense minister, and he said, we know Trump is going to be a disaster. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the best endorsement he could have received.
Wow.
So as Christians, we don't have any fear. It all is locally.
Amen.
Yeah.
And the more freedom we have in every single aspect of America, the better off we're going to be.
And this is really key. And the thing that I appreciate, I know nothing about deep state conspiracy stuff, and I'm with Gabe. It always gives my hackles up, and I get a little bit nervous. Yeah. But the thing I can bite into is the fearlessness.
Yeah, absolutely.
If conspiracy theories are making people live in fear, then it's not doing you any good, no matter what truthfulness may be in it. But Christians are called to live in a fearless way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because Jesus rules it all.
That's right.
He bought it all with his blood. Psalm 2, they conspire, God laughs.
That's right.
And
Amen.
he sends his son, and he says, ask of me, and I will give you the ends of the earth for your possession, as your inheritance. Yep. So kiss the son, lest you perish in the way. And so our Lord Jesus owns it all, rules it all.
Amen.
And so I think you're absolutely right. If we're going to be involved in journalism, we're going to be involved in politics, whatever you're going to be involved in, you can only be involved with it and in it if you have absolute rock solid confidence and peace
in Jesus.
Yeah.
Amen.
Otherwise, you're actually going to do more damage than good.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's the basis.
Yeah.
We're admonished to know our enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But a lot of Christians today will make the evil one this tall when compared to Jesus.
Yeah.
He's not even a speck on the ground.
He's a piece of sand. Psalm 139.
We are sons and daughters of the living God. We need to start acting like it, and we need to take ground, expand the kingdom.
Amen.
Resist the devil, he'll flee from you.
That's right.
And don't forget either, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal,
That's right.
but they're mighty through God for the pulling down of strongholds and casting down every imagination and every high thought that acknowledges itself against the knowledge of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Again, if you're a CrossPolitic Club member, this happens because of you, so
love
thank
you
you.
guys. Thank
If you're
you.
not, what's wrong with you people, okay?
What's wrong with you? Get RC Sproul up in there.
Until next week, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast without fear. This is CrossPolitic.
Amen.